I'm coming at it from not a fan's perspective. I'm coming at it from a beat writer's perspective. Listen, it's fun to go to a different city and to experience new restaurants and bars and just different parts of the country. That's fun. And that's not limited to fans. I mean, certainly the fans get to experience that, but so do the reporters who get to go to these cities. And listen, there's nothing wrong with Dallas and Fort Worth and Arlington and Atlanta. I mean, I love Atlanta. It's a great city, but I can go to Atlanta any weekend I want, right? It's 3.5 hours away. So it got me thinking, if Alabama could do a home-and-home series, where would I want to go? Where would you want to go? Let's hear your opinion on the matter. 205-342-9904. Wide open phone lines. Because I know you guys have opinions. This is something you don't need to know much about sports. But you know where you want to go see. You want to go look at another campus. You want to go see another college town. So I'm going to give you my top 5. And everyone's got a different list of criteria for their 5 if you wanted to pick 5. That's great. I want to hear what your rationale is. But here are my 5 if I got to pick a home and home that Alabama could play. Number 1, I'm going Oregon. 1, because I've never been to the Pacific Northwest. I want to see that part of the country. 2, I think it would be awesome for those styles of football to play. For Alabama and Oregon, they're so different in so many different ways, from old school to new school, and old money, new money. Even something as simple as the jerseys, they couldn't be any more different programs. Alabama is not going to wear a different jersey every week. They've got 2, home and away. That's what you get, home and away. Oregon has like 50 different jersey combinations. I want to see Autzen Stadium. I want to see the Duck ride the motorcycle into the stadium. And I want to see Oregon fans come down here in September and experience that deep South heat. See if Mr. Duck's doing 80 push-ups in the third quarter with that heat bearing down on him. Number 2, I kind of want to see the Horseshoe at Ohio State. I'd like to experience that. These are 2 historically good programs that I'd like to see do a home and home. Can you imagine the ratings for that game? All the different ways you could sell that Big Ten, SEC, Urban, Saban. I mean, that game would be phenomenal. A home and home with Ohio State. Number 3, Notre Dame. I'd like to see Touchdown Jesus. I'd like to see the old wooden bleachers. I'd like to see how tall they grow the grass to try to slow down Alabama. That's an old trick that Notre Dame does. When they're playing a quick team, they grow the grass taller. You know, remember that Reggie Bush, the push Bush game back in, was it 2005? Remember how tall the grass was that Notre Dame grew it out? So Notre Dame would be number 3. Number 4 is, I don't know how many people would have this on their list, but number 4 for me would be Wisconsin. I've heard Madison, Wisconsin is an unbelievable college town. And I think that would be a lot of fun. And I've met a lot of people from Wisconsin, and they're incredibly nice. And the student section does this thing where they play Jump Around by House of Pain. And I think that would be cool to witness. You know, that the House of Pain Jump Around in Madison, Wisconsin. I think that would be a lot of fun. And mainly I'm going to pick Wisconsin because I want to go to Madison. Number 5, I got a tie. I know that's a little cheap and it's cheating. I couldn't pick. Either UCLA, because the Rose Bowl is awesome. Who doesn't want to go see the Rose Bowl? And that's been diminished a little bit because I saw that in January of 2010 for the national championship game. So I've seen the Rose Bowl, and if you've never been to the Rose Bowl, it's go at night or at some point in the game. It turns evening because it's breathtaking to watch the sun go down and the mountain ranges in the back, and just the history of knowing you're in the Rose Bowl. The other one would be Hawaii. Because let's face it, I'm cheap. It's a cheap vacation. So either UCLA or Hawaii would be number 5. Honorable mentions for me, I'd like to go to Virginia Tech. I'd like to go to Blacksburg, Virginia, and listen to Metallica's Enter Sandman and see the students start jumping. That's the way they enter the game. I think, does this not get you pumped up? How could you not want to run through a wall if you play for Virginia Tech, rather? That's awesome. And it's just the environment, I think, would be really cool to see that. Another honorable mention for me, Southern Cal. I think that home and home between those two schools, given the history of those programs, would be pretty cool. And last one, Michigan. Go to the Big House. I've visited Ann Arbor, so I've seen the Big House. I think it's a little overrated if you ask me, but I've never been there for a game. But, it's a huge stadium. So to see those fan bases at a home and home would be cool. Listen, the phone lines we're getting some calls here. We're going to go to Kevin in Lexington, Kentucky. Kevin, if you had to pick one home and home, who would you go with?
Would go to the banks of the old Tangy, as Keith Jackson would say, in Columbus.
There you go.
Buckeyes.
I've
been there.
That's an attractive game, I think. I mean, ESPN would crawl to Tuscaloosa right now if they could make that game happen.
They've never played each other at each other's homes. They've always played at neutral sites, either in a bowl game or a college football playoff game.
That's a good trivia fact. They actually played. Didn't they play a kickoff classic? Was that a neutral site?
They did.
Was it 85, 86, something like that?
Yep. They've never played on each other's campus sites. Alabama and Texas have never played on each other's campus sites.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'd love to do the Southern Cal game. That's a great place to watch a game. I think they have the best entry in the game. They love their fight song. The sweaters are nice. Was totally underwhelmed when I went to Notre Dame Stadium, but every college football fan should experience it. I remember when the College Football Hall of Fame used to be there, and I have been to Wisconsin, and it is wonderful, and the people are super friendly.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. If you've never met anyone from Wisconsin, I had a neighbor. I just recently bought a house about a year ago, and I had a neighbor who was from Wisconsin. And he did a little work around my house, and I think I was on vacation. He left like 4 wheels of cheese in my refrigerator because he'd just gone up to Wisconsin and came back. Incredibly friendly people. And I've just heard great things about Madison, Wisconsin. I think it's a fantastic college town from everything I've read, and I'd like to experience it.
It's great, and if you ever go, try to go when you've got to do this. You've got, I'm a big hockey fan. You've got to go see a Madison. You got to go see a Badger hockey game. It's phenomenal. And the place is rocking. But then again, like I said, I'm a huge hockey fan. But do a Friday night Badger hockey game. Do Camp Randall on Saturday. Be a good road trip, my friend.
If they make that game happen, I just have one request. I want that game in September. I'm not going to Madison in December. I'm a Southern boy. I don't know if I could take that cold.
Well, it's even worse, like in January with all those lakes and the wind. It gets mighty nippy in Madison in the winter. But it is a beautiful place, and the people are super friendly. Super friendly.
Good stuff, Kevin. I appreciate the call.
Take care.
Let's go to Deacon, who wants to talk home and home. Deacon, if you got one series, Bill Battle calls you on your phone right now and says, Deacon, you get to choose who we're going to do a home and home with. Who are you going with?
So you made this incredibly difficult for me because you did your 5 with honorable mentions, and I'm sitting here ticking them off. But if I had to do one, it's got to be Camp Randall. I'd love to do a home and home with Wisconsin. Alton Stadium would have to be second. Love to go to Virginia Tech. I've been to the stadium in Blacksburg. That town is like a little Mayberry. It's a beautiful place right there in the hills. One that hasn't been mentioned, I'd like to do a home and home, even though they're not what they used to be. I'd like to do a home and home with Miami, go to South Beach.
Hey, no one's going to turn down a free tan, right?
No, that's right. That's right. And, you got the Big Tens, Ohio State, Michigan. But, I love that Alabama-Penn State series. I think it's got a lot of history, a lot of tradition. I'd love to go back home and home with Penn State.
I got to tell you, we made the trip in 2011. I was with the Tuscaloosa News, and we rode up in an RV. It was part of a promotion we did that season. We traveled in an RV to all the away games, and so I loved it. Now the fans are not as – there's a different breed of fan in the Northeast than there are South. Down South, we're overly friendly. They were a little confrontational, the guys that I experienced, but I'm telling you, the stadium, the whiteout they did that day in 2011, there's in the history. I think you nailed it, Deacon. The history of that series. It's not just Nick Saban. I mean, it goes back. There's a rich history between those two teams. In my opinion, the best 2 uniforms in college football.
Oh, by far. And with Penn State, I love them doing the whiteout, and I love Georgia doing the blackout because we all see how much good that does them. But as far as, fans, I think the worst fans of all fans, by far.
Yeah.
The things that have happened going to Knoxville. I'll tell you another one I'd like to do. I'd like to do, even though I don't think Flatland is pretty at all, but just because of traditional powerhouses, I'd love to do a home and home with Nebraska.
Deacon, I actually thought about Nebraska just because, again, it's a historical power in college football, a place. And that's the thing with a home and home that, listen, in the SEC, you get to go to all these cool places anyway. Some of the places that every other college football, program would love to go. Everybody wants to go to Death Valley at night in Baton Rouge. I mean, come on. Alabama gets to do that every other year. But when's the chance you're going to get to go to Nebraska?
Exactly. And it's just such a traditional, powerhouse that I know they've been down the last decade or so, but it just, that would be a great home and home just for tradition purposes.
Great stuff, Deacon. Thanks for the phone call.
All right, brother.
Great conversation so far. You guys are really passionate about these home and home series that you'd like to make happen. Give us a call. I mean, you got an opinion, and I certainly didn't name all the ones that I know you guys are naming. My Twitter mentions have just absolutely lit up. We've touched a nerve here with people that, I think people, while they appreciate all the positives of a neutral site, I think fans are dying to be able to go on a road trip in the fall, pack up your friends, go on a road trip, and just go experience a different part of the country. There's something so special about that, and you make so many good memories from that. Before we get to Jason, I'm going to read you Alabama's current out-of-conference games they have scheduled. 2016, Southern Cal, which is a neutral site game, Western Kentucky, Kent State, and Chattanooga. Next year, Florida State and Atlanta, Fresno State, Colorado State, Mercer. Now, that's not horrible. Fresno State and Colorado State, they're outmanned and outgunned, sure. But those are two maybe games that just aren't complete laughers. And then Mercer. 2018, Louisville and Orlando, Arkansas State, and the Citadel. Arkansas State is respectable. 2020, you've got Georgia State game scheduled. In 2021, Mercer again. So basically what I'm saying is you got to take care of your fans. And I don't know how much longer, these season ticket holders are going to be, excited to shell out the season ticket prices when you're offering them a slate of, Western Kentucky, Kent State, and Chattanooga. Let's go to Jason here in Tuscaloosa. Jason, how are you doing on this Tuesday?
Doing good, Mr. Suttles.
What's your thoughts on the home and home?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head with a sledgehammer. As a season ticket holder, I can see this from 2 points of view, but let me get the first point. I understand the neutral site games, why we play them, the exposure, recruiting, the money, etc. Now, let me flip over as a season ticket holder. Nothing would make me happier than when I shell out the money, my Tide Pride donation, and buying the ticket, to be able to look down the schedule on my home slate and see a premier game, a home and home, like we had scheduled with Michigan State, so forth and so on. When I look down there and I say, well, I've got my conference games, depending on what year it is in the rotation, who's going to come to Bryant-Denny. But then I look down, and this is I want people to understand this, because every program's at a different level. They play on their level of competition. Having been as a small school player myself, I'm not disparaging the small school, but I don't want to see Alabama beat the snot out of Dump Truck Tech. And I'm shelling out the money. I'd like to look down there and see maybe a Big Ten school, a Pac-12 school, or, you understand, or an ACC school. So for me, to get a home and home, and I'm just going to pick this at random, like you just mentioned earlier, Ohio State, that would be awesome. Instead of playing it at a neutral site, we've got that coming to Bryant-Denny, and I got a chance to go to Columbus and go to the Horseshoe. I can plan for that. So, yeah, I would like to see us do that. And we don't have to, when you do the out-of-conference schedule and you're going to play somebody from the Power 5, you don't have to pick the big boys. But you know what I think will change this? The playoff system will drive it. I think people will be pushed to say, you know what, you're going to have to play somebody, because we're sitting there trying to pick teams before that we're trying to pick now, and eventually it'll probably be the 8. They're going to look at the strength of schedule, and they're going to say, you know what, yeah, you're undefeated, but you played 3 teams that you should have beat the way out of. So I would like to see teams on the schedule to make me a little bit happier when I'm shelling out that money. I'm still going to support the team, but it aggravates me to know that I'm paying for 3 games. And I hate to say this, and Coach Saban can get over it if he wants to. I'm probably going to give those tickets away and not attend because I'll probably sit at home and watch a better ball game.
I think you nailed it. Jason. And that was going to be my question to you is these games, and again, I'm not trying to disparage Western Kentucky or Kent State.
No, I'm not, because they
Chattanooga.
are who they are. At their level. They are who they are at their level.
Exactly.
Right.
My next question was going to be to the fans who are shelling out. And listen, it's their discretionary income, but it's a lot of money that these fans are shelling out. These things, I mean, the Tide Pride donation, this stuff isn't cheap. And these fans have done this year after year after year. I was going to ask you, do you go to all the games? Are there games where you just like, I'd rather just sit at home and watch them?
I go to the majority of the games, and then if there's a game, let's just say it, I'm just going to pick this. We're playing Chattanooga, UT Chat. I might not go and give the ticket to somebody who doesn't buy tickets, would like to take their kids, like to go to the ball game, sit here, take the tickets, go, enjoy the experience of Alabama football. I'm probably not going to go. If I've got, let's say there's 7 home games, there's a good chance I'm going to go to 6 of them.
Yeah.
Also, and I'm not going to lie to people out there. This is the truth. If there's a better game on television, because if you don't go to the football game, you're not going to understand what I'm about to say, but people that do will understand it. It becomes an all-day affair now. You can't just go to the ball game. It is an all-day experience, even to get there with parking, the way things have changed, the increase of people. It is an all-day experience. And I don't really get fired up for a ball game where I know Alabama's going to beat the way out of somebody. And if there's a better game on television, there's a good chance I might be sitting at home in front of the big screen, not paying $5 for a Coke and $5 for a hot dog. And I'll give the tickets away.
Jason, you absolutely nailed it. Thanks so much for calling.